Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition, and today we're continuing our reading of Never Be Sick Again by Raymond Francis. Okay, and then today we'll be reading chapter 10, and this will be part 1. Okay, all right, chapter 10. So here we have a little synopsis of his theory, and chapter 10 will be talking about the medical pathway. So his theory is that there is only one disease, which is cellular malfunction, and there's two causes, deficiency and or toxicity. So you could have one or the other or both, and usually it's probably both. And then there's 6 pathways: nutrition, toxin, psychological, physical, genetic, and medical. And we'll be diving into the medical part. That'll be interesting. Okay. All right, I'm going to move the book in a little bit so you guys can see, or actually the camera, sorry. If you have a book, you could follow with us with your book, or if you don't have a book, you can follow with us here on the screen, whatever works for you. Okay, here we go. The greatest danger to your health is the doctor who practices modern medicine. That's probably a true statement. Robert Mendelsohn, MD, Confessions of a Medical Heretic. One spring morning, more than 20 years ago, I received a call from my father's physician telling me that my father, hospitalized for emphysema, was dying of kidney failure. I raced to the hospital almost 200 miles away. My brother and I found our father in a deep coma. He looked as if he were dead. The doctors advised us to disconnect his life support systems and allow him to slip away peacefully. We knew our father would not choose to live hooked to machines in a vegetative state. We knew his decision would be to pull the plug. We consented. All life support measures were terminated. Late that evening, our father was still alive but in a deep coma. In the next morning, in the morning, my brother and I returned to the hospital with anxiety and grief. We thought that he might have died during the night. Instead, we found our father sitting up and telling jokes to the nurse. A miracle? No. The doctors had been giving our father, quote, life-saving prescription drugs that put a lethal load of toxins on his kidneys. When the drugs were stopped, his body was able to rebalance and begin to repair itself. A night without the drugs was sufficient. Our decision to let him die saved him. Had he died, his death would have been attributed to kidney failure, not the prescription drugs that were causing his kidneys to fail. My father's story is extreme, yet all too common. The vast number of medically caused deaths is underreported and underestimated. Prescription errors, surgical mistakes, and diagnoses do not even begin to describe the scope of the problem. The truth is lost in prescription pads, health charts, and death certificates, which do not reflect the true causes of of death and disease. And it's interesting that, the prescription pads and health charts and death certificates, they are all left brain activities, which are uh, details and numbers and math and uh, categories and, things like that. That's what the left brain likes to do. But true healing comes from the right brain, which is very intuitive, very holistic, and the body is like that. So you have to let the body do what the body does, which is rebalance and heal itself. Just a little side note there. Sorry about that. Okay. We pride ourselves on the accomplishments of modern medicine without acknowledging its failures. Actually, medical intervention may be the leading cause of death in the United States. And there was a statistics that says medical errors, uh, or was it I think drugs. Drugs is the third leading cause of death. Or prescription drugs is the third leading cause of death in the United States, which is very interesting statistics, isn't it? Conventional medical treatments can be both a blessing or a curse. These treatments are good, even excellent, in crisis intervention and treatment of injuries, but conventional medicine does not prevent or cure disease. It manages symptoms. We wait for disease to happen, wait for the damage to be done, and then try to control the problems by treating using assembly line techniques that are currently fashionable, expensive, and usually dangerous. These techniques cause cellular malfunction, often cavalierly called side effects, which lead to unnecessary suffering, disease, and death. Even so-called preventive medicine usually is only early disease detection rather than real prevention. Another side note, the supplement industry is a multi-billion dollar industry. And I think they're trying to create a parallel. This is just my opinion. They're trying to create a parallel market to the conventional uh, mainstream market. But really, when you think about healing, it's very individualized. You can't really do a lot of people, they want like instant healing, instant gratification. In my experience, it doesn't work that way. And it's not easy. I don't think it's possible to, that could be wrong, because the body is made up of uh, some fundamentals. You could probably treat the fundamentals, but at the end of the day, each person is unique. And medical treatment or preventative treatment, or whatever you want to call it, needs to be individualized, I think. That's my opinion, anyways. The present system suffers from a disease care bias. Very few medical resources are devoted to disease prevention by helping people to maintain cellular health through diet, nutritional supplements, detoxification, exercise, healthful environment, state of mind, and lifestyle. Instead, resources are devoted toward treating the effects of the disease, which is the symptom, not the root, right? I think that's why people are still sick all the time because they're treating the symptom and not the root cause. Our modern medical system fails to find cures for chronic diseases despite vast sums of money spent on research every year. The late Emmanuel Churascan, MD, DMD at the University of Alabama Medical Center said, American medical care is the fastest growing failing business in Western civilization. I think that's a true statement right there. The truth and the consequences. Many people maintain, oh, sorry about that. Many people maintain total and unquestioning trust in modern medicine. They get advice and treatments from only one school of thought and willingly surrender their personal health and responsibilities to the hands of their doctor. This approach is not sensible. Educate yourself before you follow anyone else's advice, including your physicians. And that goes for alternative medicine too. Like for me personally, I'm into my philosophy is your goal is to get rid of all the medications. That's your goal. But, you know, take everything with a grain of salt, including alternative medicine, whether it's technology or like for me, for example, I'm into essential oils and technology, frequency technologies and light technologies and things like that. You still have to listen to your body. Your body is your physician, your personal physician. So there has to be a symbiotic relationship between physicians and patient. Because physicians, they have the knowledge. They see a lot of people with the same symptoms. And so they have an underlying um, foundational knowledge of how sort of how things work, but uh, you still have to, individual health is individual health. What works for one may not work for another, and vice versa. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents about the topic. Health is the responsibility of the individual. That's what I just said. I must be psychic. Rarely do most people realize that certain aspects of medicine might harm their health or that better alternatives might exist. Instead, they do what is familiar and conventional. Confronted with a health problem, they go to the doctor either because they do not know how to solve the problem or they are intimidated by alternatives. This was certainly my experience. The medical pathway teaches you how all kinds of medical treatments affect your body at the cellular level, the benefits and the dangers. With this understanding, and if you are not blinded by unquestioning trust in modern medicine, you can evaluate the evidence and make the best choices about medical care for yourself and for your family. With the right health choices, you should not become sick. But if you do, you must take an active part in your care, which means more than blindly follow someone else's advice. You need to learn how to take charge. Relying on medicine alone is not a sensible long-term solution. Most people in our society, I grew up wholeheartedly trusting modern medicine. When I became sick, I took my physician's advice without question and believed that I was benefiting from the most advanced medical science and the most effective treatments. I unwittingly waited in line at the pharmacy for my toxic drugs. Not until I almost died as a direct result of my medical treatments did I question the validity of this approach, and then it was almost too late. Before choosing any medical treatment, consider both benefits and risks. Understand your choices and how they're supposed to benefit you, and find out the risks. So you don't have to be a uh, medical expert and study all the medical books to get an understanding of, health. You just have to be an expert on your body and listen to what your body is telling you. It is a different language, and you have to learn that language. So, okay. What is not on the death certificate? A physician may actually guide your movement along the pathways toward disease rather than away from it. That happened to Harry, a delightful 72-year-old man and a dear friend. I was shocked to hear that Harry had died of pneumonia. His story is important to relate. Although Harry's pneumonia was caused by a bacterial infection, healthy people rarely develop infections, especially serious ones. Generally, infections occur in people who are already unhealthy, whose cells are malfunctioning, and whose immunity is already compromised. Harry had always been a strong, healthy person who rarely succumbed to colds or flu. That pneumonia caused his death seems suspicious. Something must have happened to make him susceptible to the infection that killed him. I sadly surmise that most likely modern medicine killed Harry. Harry had been suffering pain in his hip from a congenital problem. His doctor prescribed a steroid hormone, cortisone. This drug helps alleviate pain and inflammation, but it has nasty side effects. Cortisone damages the immune system by inhibiting the production of antibodies and killer T cells. In addition, this damage makes localizing infections difficult if they develop. The cortisone made Harry vulnerable to infection. He developed pneumonia in one lung and was hospitalized, where he was given large doses of antibiotics, presumably to kill the germs causing the pneumonia. Pneumonia, like any infection, is caused by malfunctioning cells and depressed immunity, not by germs alone. Normalizing cell function and rebuilding immunity rather than trying to kill germs is needed for recovery, but that is not what happened in Harry's case. After a few days on antibiotics, he was discharged, supposedly cured. In reality, the antibiotics had increased Harry's problems because they further compromised his immunity. His already depressed immune system was now in worse shape than before. Shortly after returning home, Harry developed another infection. This time, the pneumonia affected both lungs, and shortly thereafter, he died. During his first hospitalization, Harry became infected with a superbug, an antibiotic-resistant germ that is now common in hospitals. Antibiotics were useless against this infection, as was Harry's damaged immune system. In all likelihood, the state-of-the-art medical establishment both destroyed Harry's immune system and subjected him to the untreatable infection that killed him. Yet, the death certificate stated the official cause of death as pneumonia. At my sickest, I was dying from liver failure that resulted from toxic effects of a prescription drug. If I had died, guess what cause would have been listed on my death certificate? Liver disease. Period. No mention of the drug that made me sick would have been recorded. Only in the most blatant and obvious cases does modern medicine consider or take responsibility for the damage it causes. Fears of malpractice claims only enhance the resolve of the medical community to keep listing causes of death as resulting from the sickness of the patient rather than the treatments of the doctor. Physicians usually assume that the health problems they cause would have happened anyway. The general belief is that the negative effects of drugs and procedures are worth the risk. Little wonder that the cause of death on death certificates often has to do with the specialty of the doctor treating the disease. How interesting, isn't it? This is a mentality of the death cult. Prescriptions for trouble. To understand the extent of the damage caused by the medical establishment, consider how the patient can be sent toward disease along the 6 pathways. Medical treatments can cause nutritional deficiencies. Antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, and, excuse me, got a little burpee there. Antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, and steroid prescription drugs seriously damage the human digestive system. I took a steroid once, maybe like 30 years ago. I just took one dose and I threw the rest away. I had skin issues. I've never got it diagnosed, but I mean, if you want to say it, I guess you could call it eczema or psoriasis. And I had medical insurance at the time. So I went to see a dermatologist and she prescribed a steroid. I forgot the name now. It's been so long. And it's a 20 milligram uh, dose. I took one, and that night I went out, and one of the side effects is um, ferocious appetite. And that one dose of 20 milligrams gave me that uh, side effect. So that night after I took the medicine, I went out with my friend and she says, "Wow, Christina, I've never seen you eat so much in my life." And it did not feel very good. Not because of the ferocious appetite, just in general. I threw the rest away. I never took another steroid or medicine in my life again. I mean, I took antibiotics and stuff when I had my, oral things done, but very, very rare. Yeah. Anyways, I thought I'd give you a little anecdote story there. Okay, let's try. Got a little squirrel there, didn't I? Sorry about that. Let's try that paragraph again. Medical treatments can cause nutritional deficiencies. Antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, and steroid prescription drugs seriously damage the human digestive system, impairing the ability to digest food and absorb nutrients. Diuretics strip nutrients such as magnesium, calcium, potassium, zinc, and iodine. Drugs work because they are toxic. They interfere with normal cell function in order to suppress disease symptoms. Both prescription and over-the-counter drugs produce a vast variety of disease symptoms referred to as side effects. I don't even take Advil anymore. I don't have that in my house, or Tylenol, or any of the over-the-counter medications. I got none of that in my household. Often physicians inflict psychological damage on their patients. When doctors estimate how long a patient will live or predict that the patient will never walk or see again, they can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's very true. That's why doctors should be very careful, or people in a position of, quote, power should be very careful about what they say. Often physicians don't even listen to their patients' thoughts and opinions, interrupting them less than a minute after the patient starts describing symptoms. Such practices sabotage one of the physician's primary goals to help and support the patient throughout the entire healing process. Many medical procedures, including surgery, medical x-rays, and radiation, physically damage the body and ultimately cause malfunction and disease. This physical damage can lead to genetic damage. Genetic mutations can cause cancer and other diseases and may be passed to future generations. Managing symptoms instead of curing disease. If you seek medical treatment, your physician asks you a series of questions and perhaps runs a series of tests to determine your symptoms. The purpose of this activity is to diagnose, to match your set of symptoms with specific named categories, also known as diseases. Diagnosed in this manner, a disease is nothing more than a set of symptoms. After diagnosis, modern medicine, also known as allopathic medicine, allo means against and pathic means disease. Interesting, huh? Pathic means disease. That's where the word pathetic comes from, pathological comes from. Literally seeks to go against the symptoms of disease. Symptoms are significant only because they attract your attention. They are unpleasant and interfere with your ability to function, but they have nothing to do with the essence of health and disease. Disease ensues when cells malfunction. The symptoms may vary, the solution is always the same. Normalize cell function through the 6 pathways. Perception is everything. Perceived symptoms become the problem that medicine seeks to stop. For example, if the perceived problem is high blood pressure, medicine aims to lower pressure with a variety of toxic drugs. If the perceived, well, lowering blood pressure is easy. You could get a cat, that lowers your blood pressure, or you can meditate, that lowers your blood pressure. Take a walk in nature, that lowers your blood pressure. Those are all free. They're free. Free. No money. Free. Sorry, got a little passionate there. Meanwhile, both of these problems are merely symptoms of malfunctioning cells. Using drugs to lower the blood pressure, therefore, does not solve the problem that is causing the elevated pressure. And likewise with drugs used to kill germs. Germs can contribute to cellular malfunction, but germs are present constantly and everywhere in our environment. Killing the germs that are causing an infection does not make the person healthy, nor does it make the person more resistant to subsequent infections. In fact, they become less resistant because the drugs that kill the germs also damage and weaken the body. When one has an infection masking the symptoms of this, oh, sorry, of this sickness, oh, sorry about that, people, a little wibbly wobbly there. Serves little purpose other than making the sick person more comfortable. For example, treating fever with over-the-counter drugs is a common practice. Yet, fever is natural and beneficial. There is no reason to use drugs for this purpose, especially because drugs inflict harm. By focusing on symptoms and taking drugs, we do not cure disease. We merely invent ways to allow sick people to continue living their lives more comfortably. Short-term relief has its place, but is not a long-term solution. For example, angioplasty may prevent the immediate death of a patient by increasing blood flow to the heart. However, only by eliminating deficiency and toxicity can the heart disease be reversed, and this will not happen under the guidance of a conventional physician. More than a sum of our parts. Modern medicine, pumped up with huge amounts of talent and money, is a strange dichotomy. Interesting, eh? So money doesn't solve everything. Technologically advanced and cutting edge, yet obsolete and ineffective. Medicine does a superb job managing medical emergencies and disease symptoms, but is woefully incapable of curing disease or promoting a lifetime of wellness. In medical schools, physicians study one organ or system at a time and then specialize without developing an understanding of health or body as a whole. A lack of holistic understanding and appreciation transfers to medicine's focus on disease rather than health. Actually, our modern healthcare system is a disease care system. Our healthcare providers are paid for treating disease, not for preventing disease. Treatments can continue for the entire life of the patient. Our current system does not offer financial incentives for health, but provides a lot of money for treatments of disease. We need to examine. Oops, sorry about that. Oh no, my battery's running low. Okay, hang on, people. 1 minute. Let me charge my battery here for a minute. Okay, okay. Sorry about that little intermission. Let me see if I could find my spot again. I got a little distracted there. Okay, I'm going to try that. I'm going to read that paragraph again. Actually, our modern healthcare system is a disease care system. Our healthcare providers are paid for treating disease, not for preventing disease. Treatments can continue for the entire life of the patient. Our current system does not offer financial incentives for health, but provides a lot of money for treatments of disease. We need to examine the roots of modern conventional medicine. Modern medicine is based on a 17th century understanding of the human body, and it has failed to incorporate the most important scientific discoveries of the 20th century. Wrapped in the cloak of modern science, at its core, conventional medicine is based on archaic concepts that presently are scientifically obsolete and invalid. Allow me to explain what I mean. Beginning with Isaac Newton's discovery of the laws of motion, the human body and the universe both became regarded as a clockwork mechanism. From this perspective, anything can be dissected into parts, studied scientifically, and understood. Medicine of the time followed this mechanistic concept. Take the machine apart, study the parts, understand how they work, and use that understanding in medical care. People began to believe they could control health simply by understanding the mechanical workings of the physical body. Many people still believe this, although it isn't true. Well, it's true only to a certain extent. It's not giving it the whole picture. It's just one tiny sliver part of the bigger picture. Today, the medical establishment continues to regard the body as a complex glorified machine. The focus is on the parts, not the whole. Disease is seen as confined to specific locations or organs rather than as affecting the whole person. The treatments regularly remove or replace body parts without addressing the reasons that something went awry. By assuming the body is a machine that cannot heal itself, the only effective therapies are thought to be those that come from the outside, such as mechanical techniques, surgical invasion, and powerful drugs. The pharmaceutical drug uh, the pharmaceutical drug industry fixes health problems by adding molecules to the body that are designed to control the function of certain body parts without seeking to understand or remedy the reasons for the malfunction. A dysfunction in the body's self-regulating and balancing mechanisms is caused by cellular malfunction, and it affects the whole body, not just a part of it. With machines, the function of the whole can be predicted by the sum of the parts. But humans are not. Humans are not machines. A living organism is much greater than the sum of its parts. We are alive and our minds influence our bodies. In the early 20th century, Albert Einstein challenged existing perceptions and fundamentally changed the way people view the world. By proving that matter and energy are one, Einstein brought forth a new field for studying the laws of the universe, quantum physics, in which human beings are regarded as networks of complex energy systems that interact with physical and cellular systems. We human beings are not Newtonian in nature, but rather Einsteinian. And I would posit that even the Einsteinian, I'm not a scientist, but I'm thinking Newtonian has its validity uh, because it shows one aspect of the whole. Einsteinian philosophy, it's the same thing. It shows one aspect of the whole. And so you really have to put the Newtonian philosophy plus the Einsteinian philosophy plus. Yeah. So that's why I think science is always evolving. It's not static. It will never be, I don't think, uh, what's the word I want? Static. What's another word for static? Complete. It'll never be complete or static or not changeable. Immalleable, because it is malleable. It's always changing. Humans are matter, and we are also multidimensional energy systems. And our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes create energy fields that influence our biochemistry and affect our health. Yet, our physicians continue to use the mechanical Newtonian model. All right, we'll stop here for now. I hope you enjoyed that. And we'll continue reading next time of chapter 10. In the meantime, you can check out our other book clubs. We have a spiritual book club every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then every Thursday, we have the financial book club. And you could check that all out on our YouTube channel. Check out our merch and check out our website. We've got lots of fun things that I like to put up there, videos and movie recommendations you guys can all check out. And we'll see you next time. Hope you guys all have a great day. All right, bye-bye now.